Hey guys, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson, a film reviewer from the UK who writes for the likes of Cineworld, Flickering Myth, Hey You Guys, and Den of Geek. On this channel, as you can see, I'm flanked by 2001 and Full Metal Jacket, hence the title. On this channel, I'm here to bring you reviews of the latest and greatest movies out at the moment. And this week, I'm delighted to be able to talk to you about a really special movie called Okja, which is the new South Korean movie from the fantastic director Bong Joon Ho. And this is an interesting case because you may have heard back a couple of months ago when the Cannes Film Festival was on, this movie was in the running at the Cannes Film Festival competition, and it caused a bit of a fuss with the festival organisers. There was lots written about it, about how the fact that it's a simultaneous release. It's now available to watch on Netflix, and it's also having a limited theatrical release around the world. And the Cannes Film Festival organisers were absolutely outraged that a movie was available to both stream in the home and also be out in the cinema at the same time. And apparently they've completely changed their ruling on this since. But festival snobbery and politics aside, we're here to assess, or I'm here to assess, the quality of the movie itself. So is the film any good? I'm absolutely delighted to report that it is. It continues Bong Joon Ho's formidable reputation as one of the finest directors out there at the moment. So, to put it in context, he came to prominence in 2006 with the monster movie The Host, which, although it had the trappings of being a big creature movie in a manner of all the kaiju movies like Godzilla, it also had a very rich theme of black comedy and satire running through it, and that really sets the tone for all of his other movies, including Mother, which is a really twisted, brilliantly creepy Oedipal murder mystery, small town satire that moves from violence to comedy to, and then back again. To Memories of Murder, which many consider to be his best film, to something like Snowpiercer, which was the story of the world has been plunged into a new ice age and humanity is now confined to a train that's circumnavigating the world that's divided into a class system. I actually saw that in an English language cinema in Heidelberg in Germany, although I was a little bit hungover and sunstricken and I might have fallen asleep. But anyway, I caught up with it afterwards and it's fantastic. And Okja is very much in that vein. It starts off with the Mirando Corporation, headed up by a platinum-haired Tilda Swinton as Lucy Miranda, head of this business. Do you wear a shoe on your head? No, a shoe belongs on your foot. Sorry, that's a Snowpiercer reference, by the way. That's a reference to Tilda Swinton's role in Snowpiercer. Go and check it out if you haven't. It's a fantastic film. So she is back working with Bong Joon Ho again in that fully sort of satirical, really heightened, really OTT, but appropriately OTT mode. I'll get back to that. As the head of it, as Lucy Miranda, head of this big multinational corporation, who at the start of the movie claimed to have solved world hunger by breeding this new breed of animal called the super pig, which looks like a cross between a pig and a hippo. And at the start of the movie, 10 people around the world have been tasked with growing their own super pigs with the aim of entering them into a competition in New York in 10 years' time. We then jump ahead 10 years to one of those people, Mija, who is a young girl living in the mountains in South Korea, who has formed a bond with her own super pig named Okja, hence the title. And she and Okja have this very deep-seated, very affectionate love for one another. They are living this very bucolic, very rural existence with Mija's grandfather, but then that environment is then invaded by Jake Gyllenhaal's creepy reptilian TV presenter, who arrives ostensibly with the aim of getting Okja ready for this competition in New York. Mija's grandfather then lets slip that the competition is actually a mask for what's really going on, which is that Okja is being prepared for the slaughterhouse. Mija is obviously absolutely heartbroken by this and decides to set off first for Seoul and then later to New York to go and rescue Okja from her absolutely dreadful fate. So on the one hand, it's at the centre, it's actually quite a gentle Steven Spielbergian fable about the deep-seated bond between this young girl and this creature. and it absolutely relies on the special effects, on the CGI effects for Okja to really pull you into this scenario. And it's a credit to the filmmakers that it absolutely does do that. The visual effects are really, really impressive, and you absolutely believe in this relationship. And that grounds the movie. That really does provide a lovely counterpoint to all the incredibly sort of satirical craziness that really does ramp up in the film's second half. So that counteracts these very, very mannered, very heightened, very stylized performances, again, from the likes of Tilda Swinton and Jake Gyllenhaal, the latter of whom has obviously been cast in this because of his role in Nightcrawler, his brilliant role in Nightcrawler, in which he could go from being really obsequious and really fawning and, you know, someone who gets what he wants, whilst also being really, really creepy and really repellent. And Jake Gyllenhaal's great at doing that in Nightcrawler, and he's great at doing that here. Again, I mentioned Tilda Swinton, who obviously loves working with Bong Joon Ho, and she really gets to let rip with not one but two characters in this movie. She plays twin sisters, one of whom is outwardly seems quite benevolent but is also very, very scheming and wants to, as Misha gets more and more involved, she tries to seize on Misha to make Misha become the new innocent face of this corporation. So she's more sort of devious and sly, and that is then counteracted by the other sister who comes into it later on, who is just an absolute brute force of nature, who absolutely hates everyone, everything, is just in it for money, does not mince words, no pun intended, about what she needs to get done. So really well judged performances, really well judged actors. Bong Joon Ho is obviously very, 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 very savvy at getting actors who can, you know, get that satirical focus and push it just far enough without it becoming overbearing. And again, that's leavened with this very, very sweet central story that is basically a plea for compassion and civility and decency in a world that's running out of control. It's obviously a movie that is a mirror of the events that we've gone through in recent times. Although, you know, it should be stressed that if the movie is timely at all, it's almost certainly by accident, because this movie was shot the best part of a year ago, and clearly the events of the last year are now catching up with the movie. So the movie is very much on point. It is also, in the manner of all Bong Joon-ho's movies, it's a really quicksilver, very idiosyncratic movie. It throws multiple emotions at you within the course of one scene. I've mentioned the fact that Jake Gyllenhaal's invasion of Misha's mountain home feels very, very invasive and very unpleasant. There's also a wonderful instance in that sequence where Misha's grandfather finds himself absolutely intoxicated with the celebrity status that Okja has now been afforded, and there's lots of grandstanding, there's glad handing, and that's a lovely inversion of the rural country bumpkin stereotype. Again, one of many ways in which this film is just brilliantly intelligent. Joon-ho has himself said that this is not a vegan movie, in spite of the movie's emphasis on consumption, specifically on meat consumption. It's not a vegan movie, and I would be inclined to agree with him. I think it's very easy to see the movie as that, but clearly it's a story of corporate capitalism absolutely run out of control, about how corporations repeatedly run the little people into the ground, and how simple acts of decency and compassion and happiness are often the greatest spit in the face to all these horrible corporate types. So it is a movie with a heart. It's a movie that recognises that the world is going to shit, and yet it also recognises how we can fight against that in the most basic, decent human ways possible. So it has that, as I said, that Spielbergian element to it. Beautifully shot by Darius Khondji, who very often works with David Fincher. Lovely score that goes from the bluegrassy guitars to very James Horner-esque cooing choirs at certain points. Brilliant use of John Denver, Annie's song. That's the second time I've heard that song used in a movie this year in a humorous context. The previous film was Ben Wheatley's Free Fire. I won't give away the context in which the song appears in either movie, but it's funny that song has now appeared twice. And what an absolute delight to have a director like Bong Joon-ho at work at the moment, a director with a really unique voice who, you know, is, although his movies flit about all over the place emotionally and tonally, they feel absolutely structurally consistent and sound. The movie never feels like it's running out of control for the sake of it. Transformers. And he is absolutely a filmmaker to be championed. He absolutely does respect the audience. He has absolutely got his own unique voice, and yet he also really respects the viewing audience as well. He keeps the audience on the edge of their toes, yet his films are also very entertaining, in addition to being incredibly thought-provoking and incredibly powerful. I think it's a fantastic movie. It's moving, it's funny, it's shocking. It's available now on Netflix, and again, it does have a limited theatrical distribution. If you're lucky enough to be living in an area where it is on in the cinema, I would suggest going to see it on the big screen. I didn't get the opportunity to do that because it's not showing theatrically near where I am, but really do go and check it out. It's called Okja, and it's available now on Netflix. And just as a reminder, guys, check out my other reviews on here at Kubrick Corner, and also hit me up on Twitter at Shawnee22. Peace.